My mother left when I was 4. Normally that wouldn't mean anything, but I suspected for a long time that the porcelain dolls were coming from her. Like some pitiful attempt to show that she loved me. My father, he worked overtime to keep things going in the household, even if it was just the two of us. His hands were always worn from working the matches, the shop, and he slaved even more when he got home and had to make supper for himself and I, and go through the nightly routines before I hit the sack. So I sometimes woke up in the middle of the night and he was still awake, cleaning a room in the house, and I thought to myself, this man is dedicated. He has to be awake only in a few hours, and here he is. I love my father. I always have. One of his most trusted friends from high school, Alexander, was my babysitter from the time my mother left to the time I was about 7 years old. We trusted Alexander. He worked night shift, so he was able to work babysitting in around his hours, and he would have done anything to help out my father to make that work. My father paid him even though he asked for nothing. He said he was just doing his good deed, and I like it anyway. My dad used to come home from work and Alexander would pick up his bags full of toys that we played with. He always brought the best toys and trinkets with him. His daughter had passed away when she was 10 years old, and I think it brought him great joy to now share her old toys with another little girl. He would say to my dad, "She was great for me. She ate well, and she took her usual long nap. I'll be back tomorrow." And he always came back. Well, eventually times changed and my dad's work schedule changed with them. We didn't see Alexander anymore because we didn't need Alexander anymore. My father thought they had lost touch permanently, and when I asked about him, he told me truthfully that Alexander was a busy man. He understood that, and I did too. For my 8th birthday, the first porcelain doll arrived. It had beautiful blonde curly hair and a painted-on face. She was wearing what looked to be an expensive velvet dress with an attached tutu. She came inside a stuffed envelope with nothing else in the package to identify who had sent her. Just my name. That was all. The first thing my father did was call my grandmother, who said, "No, I didn't drive by and place a present on the porch. I'm not her coward mother. I would have given it right to her." That gave my father the second idea. My mother. The only thing was, we had no way of getting in touch with her and finding out, for she had literally taken off and abandoned us both. And over the next few weeks, nobody came forth and said they'd got me the doll. So we assumed this is who had sent it. They showed up every year since then, each unique in their own ways, each more beautiful than the last. I thought it was a little odd, yes, especially because my mother made no outreach to me, so if she was sending me gifts but not bothering to even so much as call and check me up, then that was just plain rude of her, and her gifts meant literally nothing. But I continued to set them up on my shelf in my bedroom, and they looked nice there, I suppose. The year I turned 19, I was moved into college and taking courses on my birthday. My father called me from home and asked me when I was coming back home for a break. And I told him that I had time this weekend, but I only said this because I sensed some urgency in his voice. I could make it work. He told me not to worry about anything, but that he would really like to see me. Then he stressed that I always lock my doors and always have somebody walking with me if I was out past dark, which I already knew. I returned home that weekend, and my father said there had been an accident. My porcelain birthday doll had arrived, my 19th year doll. When my father brought it inside the house, it had smashed into 100 separate pieces. Inside, there was a diary entry on a piece of paper. He spent the entire day smashing over every porcelain doll, and the entire night speaking with the police. Alexander had written diary entries for every time he had drugged and molested me, each more explicit, admitting that he had done the same to his daughter up until the day of her horrible death. My father and I hadn't had a dry eye in our house that entire night, and I continued to have problems throughout my college career, knowing that Alexander was somewhere out there, probably assuming a new identity and doing the same thing to other girls. Now I know why he always commented on me taking such usual long naps.